ちはグランドラインを目指し夢を追い続ける。世はまさに
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Spike. On today's menu, we have the one and only, the legend in itself, the greatest, One Piece. Yeah, I know, you have heard of One Piece. Maybe, or it's your first time. Either way, I welcome you. Today, I'm going to guide you through answering the daunting question of, is it actually worth it to watch more than 1,000 episodes of an anime that is probably going to go on for a couple more years? If you enjoyed the video, remember to smash the like button, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Well, this is actually my first video, as you can probably tell. I obviously don't expect it to be like a smash or to have like a ton of views. But if I can just make even one person make a decision about One Piece, then that's worth it in my opinion. Now, if I wanted to give a summary of the One Piece story, it's basically about a boy named Luffy, which goes out to the sea and puts together a crew so that he could find the great treasure of One Piece! Back to the main question. If we were talking about the manga, let's be real, it's a definite yes. There's no question about it. Any anime or manga fan that has any interest in it should definitely read it. I mean, for crying out loud, it's literally the highest selling manga of all time, and it's probably going to become the most highest selling comic of all time. Oh yeah, Superman, we're coming after those cheeks, baby. And despite the breathtaking success of the manga, I mean, there is a reason that it's called one of the big three of shonen. So basically, anyone who reads One Piece will probably find something enjoyable about it. But we're not talking about the manga. Our main target is the anime. First thing first, there's more than 1,000 episodes as the recording of this video. But that's not the problem. The best thing about One Piece is that it's long. It makes it an adventure. You are not watching it, you're experiencing it. The problem is anime's pacing sucks. The golden rule of weekly shonen adaptation is that 2 chapters, 1 episode. But in terms of One Piece, sadly enough, is 1 chapter, 1 episode, which makes the pacing very slow and less exciting than it should be. If you can't get past that, I don't recommend you watching One Piece. But if you can, then hallelujah, baby. Anywho, if you care about the animation, well, let me tell you that for the first 900 episodes, you have to only care about the story and literally no expectation for amazing animation. Well, I hate to say it, but One Piece has literally the worst adaptation in the classic Big Three of Shonen Jump: Naruto, One Piece, Bleach. You may have heard of a term called filler, which is an anime episode that is original and didn't exist in the manga, and were pretty frequent in longer series so that the manga could have some breathing room. In terms of pacing, well, nowadays it's less frequent to see fillers in a show because there's mostly shorter series nowadays. Well, in One Piece there's barely any filler, but the pacing of the episodes, man, the pacing of the episodes. 1 chapter, 1 episode. So it literally has filler that is baked in the story itself. So you basically can't skip any of it. You have to watch the whole thing. Oh man, Now that I'm talking about it, I really wanna cry with how they handled the anime. Well, that's the case for the first 900 episodes of the anime. After that, the One Piece anime has the greatest adaptation of any of the big three. Toei Animation, which is the mother studio of the One Piece anime, yeah, let's call it that. Apparently, it changed the studio in charge of the One Piece anime. My god, it was worth it. Because, in case you don't know, One Piece has one of the greatest stories that has ever been written in the history of any entertainment genre. And that was the most selling point of One Piece before the latest arc, which is Wano. But now, One Piece is dominating in every aspect possible. In viewership, in rating, in quality, everything. Because when you take an amazing story and give it an amazing adaptation, what you get is a masterpiece. You saw what it did there? Masterpiece. One Piece. Anyway, what makes the One Piece anime more exciting? Well, let's just say the One Piece story. That is, hasn't even reached its peak yet. And if you don't want to miss out on the hype train, I suggest you to either watch One Piece or read One Piece until the Wano arc, and after that, just enjoy the beauties of Wano. And let me tell you about the world of One Piece. One Piece has one of the best world buildings in anime history. Every island is beautiful and unique in its own way. The next best thing is the characters. One Piece has some of the greatest, and I mean the greatest protagonists and antagonists in that anime can offer. I haven't even gotten to the best part. You're going to feel every emotion while watching this anime. You're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry, you're gonna love, you're gonna hate, you're gonna feel stuff that you can't even explain. So, to answer our first question, yes, if you think about what you enjoy more in a show, a good story, which you get in both the anime and the manga, or a solid animation, which only exists after 900 episodes. So if you can take a bad pacing and 900 episodes of normal animation, give it a shot. You're not gonna regret it. And trust me in saying that you wanna watch One Piece before you die. On that note, that was my case for you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Spike, and as always, we live for the enjoyment of the small things in life. Did that sound corny? Anywho, see you in the next one. Bye!